you wait with arms wide open.
Do you think that having this technology so like at the tip of our fingers is making humans lose critical thinking?
Yeah, I felt it in myself after one day of having a Google Home. I was
remember,
like, well, there goes all of that typing.
But I remember in 11th grade, I took an AP biology class, and I loved it. I thought it was the coolest class I've ever taken. It was really hard, but I just thought the information was awesome. And we always had these homework assignments. I think they were weekly or monthly homework assignments. And the last part of it, the last page was this part that says critical thinking. And I remember we always like dreaded it, and like we would always like work together, and we'd be like, oh, we have to do the critical thinking part. And then at the first time we had it, we looked it up, and we couldn't find anything because we like everyone looks up everything, all your homework assignments. I feel like a lot of people just look things up to get more ideas, and we couldn't find anything on it. We're like, oh shit, like we actually have to critical think and like use our brains, and it was so hard for us. And I'm like, that is so sad that like we can't even use our like brain. We can't critical think anymore because we rely on all this technology. Instead of like being like, let's answer the assignment, you'll say like, Alexa, like look this up for me.
It's like a millennial driving somewhere without a cell phone.
Yeah.
I want to bring this to education. Do you think that we should be teaching more critical thinking in schools, or do you think that that's something that gets taught as an emotional intelligence outside of schools?
I do think if you bring up critical thinking to like younger people, then they're gonna like actually, I feel like they'll just go home and then look things up anyway. I think that's so part of our society.
Can you look up critical thinking questions?
Well, then also would you have to develop those questions?
And also, I think critical thinking.
That's
hard.
one of the trends. With every question answered, it leads to 2 more questions. Humans are really good at asking questions, just crazy questions. So whenever I get a question answered by Google, it makes me think of another question. So I ask that, and then I keep going, and then eventually Google doesn't know it.
Right.
When Google doesn't know it, I'm stumped, and I'm just like, this isn't worth me solving. Let's move on.
No, but then that's when you should be like, oh, like I should really think about this and use my brain. But like we don't do that anymore. Because
it's something a robot can't think about. Obviously,
we don't even do that because we rely on other things.
Or that no one's published an article about yet. Like there's still things that are true that no one's written about, and so Google can't find it because it's not on the internet.
Well, it's only true if like. It depends on what you're talking about.
What is true?
Because science, it's like true if it's generally accepted as objective, if it's
Sure.
scientifically proven.
And bloodletting was thought of as science 500 years ago. So what is modern bloodletting? What's true? What's not? How do you know if you Google something? Is it always correct?
Yeah.
Obviously not. Like, where's the line of that? But I mean, to suggest that science is fact is a joke just as much as like many of the people who are anti-science.
Science is fact until it's disproven. It's just not unproven.
That's also like, do you think about if let's say like I know something really cool and important, but whatever, but I don't write about it. Like there's probably so many people that have so much information in their head that just don't share it. Like imagine everyone did.
Right, like everyone being in a connected network in that. When someone had a thought 200 million years ago when humans were just getting formed, we didn't have written language that's like 7,000 years old. Literally, the way that we expressed ourselves was pretty much internal. Now we have this network of people who work together across the entire world to share thoughts. That is fucking crazy.
What's also really cool about voice is that I learned I'm taking an advanced Spanish grammar class right now, and it's all about like understanding language. And the Inca tribe never had a written language. They only had like a spoken language. And their like version of a written language was knots. They used to tie knots, and that was their written language. Not written language, but that was like our equivalent of a. It was how long ago? You know?
I guess when you have nothing to compare it to, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, but that was
sliced bread.
But that was their way of like they only really had spoken communication, and like that was their way of like recording, I guess.
And then how many jobs were created as a result of having that written form of communication?
Yeah.
I'm sure you needed some people that were there just to tie those knots.
Yeah, like the knot tire.
There were people there just to make the ropes to tie the knots. There were people there to store the ropes that were tied.
Yeah.
All of these jobs were created as a result of this happening.
But that's also why like voice is so important, because that was their only way of communicating.
You're right. Yeah, and imagine what it would have been like had an Incan person been able to say, how many people live in this random city? And then it could have come up with the answer. Like, what type of value would that have provided to them? Like, most of these people probably did not go far past their village throughout their lifetime. We're able to travel across the entire world, communicate with anyone we want, translate anything we say into any other language. That is incredibly unique, and I think oftentimes people sort of lose track of how fast things are going, but like 200 years ago, no one used cars.
100 years ago ish.
And we take all that for granted.
Most
That's just
people didn't.
secondhand nature for us.
And 10 years ago, the iPhone wasn't a thing, and now it's a pervasive part of every single human's life.
I have it with me everywhere I go, and it wasn't on this planet 10 years ago.